What's up, man? This is Mismatch Era Podcast. This your boy Vaughn, Coach Vaughn, OK Vontae on Twitter. And we got some exciting news, man. As a Titans fan myself, I'm going to be breaking down Titans news all year long as much as I can. I am a coach and a educator in my off time, so I'm going to try to be as consistent as possible. If I am not and the demand becomes pressing, just know that I am trying my best. So we're going to get started, man. The Titans have signed Deandre Hopkins to a 2-year, $26 million deal. $32 million when you add in incentives, man. It's been about 3 days now, so the excitement has worn off, but I definitely feel like this is what we needed, man. Definitely feel like this is what we needed, signing Deandre Hopkins to this deal. Super important for us, in my opinion. I think we've had a lot of bad luck the last 2 years. We've had a lot of dumb moves. Not dumb, I'm not going to call them dumb, but ill-advised moves that happened at the hands of our past regime. But Ryan Carthon has done his thing, man. Signing DeAndre Hopkins to this deal was extremely big. Hold on 1 second, let me get that out of our way. Signing DeAndre Hopkins to this deal was extremely big, man. Says a lot that he chose the Tennessee Titans. Says a lot about the respect that he has for Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly, who he was in the Texans organization with not too long ago, man. What people don't know about this decision is Tim Kelly was his offensive coordinator, I believe, when he left the Texans. DeAndre Hopkins did have his best year in 2019 under Tim Kelly. So this is going to be a great reunion for those two. And from here, man, it's all about DeAndre Hopkins and staying healthy and how much he still has left, which I think he has a great deal left, in my opinion. This is what we needed, man. All off season, we were complaining as an organization, as a fan base, not as an organization, but as a fan base, and as I saw a lot of our Titans media members putting the full court press down on Ryan Carthon and Mike Vrabel in regards to not drafting a receiver, and then not really picking up any receivers when it came to free agency, at least not notable receivers. This signing rights all of those wrongs. You needed a number one receiver to complement the core that you already had. Basically, all of our core was missing was somebody that was proven. The main thing that's going to help this offense is the absence of Ty Downing. I don't think people who don't follow the Titans as closely as the fans do understand how much of a liability our offensive coordinator was for 2 years. Going from Arthur Smith to Todd Downing was the worst transition. The worst transition, bro. He just did a bunch of things that didn't really make sense. Very predictable. The combination of him and J-Rob, who was our past GM, for those who don't know, what just led to abysmal results. On top of that, we were the most injured team 2 years in a row. 2021, we broke a record in injuries. We broke a record in injuries. I believe we ended with like 23 players on injury reserve. We cycled the most players out of our lineup in NFL history, and those problems kind of continued into the 2022 season. And I don't think people realize how badly the Titans were injured. Any other team, if I was being 100% honest, would have been given a pass. The injuries would have been talked about a lot more. I mean, imagine the Buffalo Bills, or it actually did happen to the Baltimore Ravens as well, and it doesn't get talked about enough. But imagine losing Patrick Mahomes for a stretch after starting off well. Imagine losing your skilled players and your offensive line. At one point, our entire offensive line was on injury reserve. I distinctly remember that. Losing Taylor Lewan for the year, losing Dylan Radins for the year. We lost 2 linemen for the year. Torn ACLs, gone. Lost him for the year. Ben Jones was literally dragging himself through the season. Probably shouldn't have been out there playing with those injuries. Nate Davidson out of the lineup. I believe we even had, I think Nicholas Petit-Frere was the only player who was consistently in the lineup. Dennis Daly had the worst performance for an offensive lineman probably in NFL history. Like, it was terrible. And that's not any exaggeration. Go look at the numbers. It was horrible. I think I have to go and check, but I think the 22 starters we anticipated starting the year with, out of the 22, I think at one point 16 of them were sidelining out of the lineup. So just a little window into what the last 2 years have been like for the Titans. With this Deandre Hopkins addition, it gives you a wide receiver that kind of makes the defense back up and show some respect. Can work those intermediate and short routes and move the chains. That's mostly what we were missing. Someone who can move the chains. This puts Nick Westbrook-Akina in his rightful spot, Chris Moore in his rightful spot, and Kyle Phillips, who had 12 catches to start the year last year in week 1 and was injured immediately. And we saw limited action for him. I think he came back for 1 game and tried to play and then realized that he couldn't and was out for the rest of the year. So there's a lot of talent on this roster, and it's not even taking into account the fact that you drafted Tajay Spears, who can catch the ball out of the backfield and be that smash and dash. You can bring something like that back with Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears, with Tajay Spears' ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and ability to just hit home runs. Even though he doesn't have the elite speed, he's fast enough to pull away from the defense, and his vision is ridiculous. I'm not going to put too much pressure or too much stock in that rookie, but the possibility and the potential of what he can be makes me feel good about this backfield and the depth that it has, as well as Chig Okonkwo just wasn't used enough, but was very dominant on the field, and especially when he was targeted. And then you go and draft Josh Wiley this year at tight end as well, who is 6'7", moves like a wide receiver sometimes, and proven blocker. It's going to be interesting to see how we work all of this newfound talent into this offensive system with Tim Kelly, who has said that we are going to be moving faster and we are going to be throwing the ball more. I mean, that's basically what I got from it. So if you're going to be moving faster and throwing the ball more, and you have Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, Traylon Burks, Luka Kena, Westbrook Akina, Chris Moore, Kyle Phillips, Chigga Conquo, Josh Wiley, Tyjae Spears backing up Derrick Henry, and a new and young talented line, which is a question mark, but I have no doubt that they are going to be improved, vastly improved from last year, with Taylor being out for the year and Ben being old and not being able to move as well, and just those pieces and how they flow together and the injuries were bound to be better. Bound to be better in my opinion. Interesting thing that I saw in regards to DeAndre Hopkins and Tannehill. I'm going to give Tannehill the benefit of the doubt because whenever we've been healthy, he has produced, especially in the regular season. He's gotten us there. He just hasn't been able to finish. There are a lot of quarterbacks who are not able to finish. Let's get that. I think we've grown a little bit spoiled over the years, but there are a lot of quarterbacks in this association that haven't finished, that haven't been in the position that Ryan Tannehill has had us in his Titans stint. When he's healthy, when he has the protection, and when he has even just one weapon to work with, this is probably the best that our receiving core has been in terms of talent. Since Ryan Tannehill has taken over for the Tennessee Titans. So I'm putting my money on Ryan Tannehill being at least decent this year. I would not be shocked if he returned to 2020 Ryan Tannehill form, in which he was top 10, arguably top 5 quarterback in terms of statistics and performance in the NFL. There's been a lot of talk about who's going to get the ball to him and a lot of just shitting on Ryan Tannehill, if you want me to be honest. But this is a tweet from Jordan Vanek on Twitter, which says 28.9% of DeAndre Hopkins' routes were hooks in 2022. He averaged 2.78 yards per route run on these routes. That ranks in the upper 90th percentile. Minimum 200 total routes and 20% routes run rate. Why is this important? That has ironically been Ryan Tannehill's most targeted route since joining the Titans. And that 22% is one of the highest percentage of total targets to a specific route since 2018. So, essentially, right now at this point, it's a match made in heaven. We've seen DeAndre Hopkins be successful with quarterbacks that were a lot less talented than Ryan Tannehill, a lot less experienced than Ryan Tannehill. You can argue that Ryan Tannehill is going to be the second best, aside from Deshaun Watson in his prime. Is going to be the second best quarterback to throw passes to DeAndre Hopkins. If you want to argue Kyler Murray, we can argue that. But second or third, either way, there's not too many quarterbacks that he could have went to that has the experience and obviously has tendencies that match his tendencies as well as Ryan Tannehill. The Titans' offense is very good when they're healthy, and they are and have been one of the best red zone offensive teams in the NFL in Mike Vrabel's run. 94% conversion rate and goal to go last season, and I'm pretty sure it's been in that 90-80% range since Ryan Tannehill and Mike Vrabel has took over. And now you add one of the better red zone targets, as well as you get your veterans in Nick Westbrook-Akina, Chris Moore as depth pieces. Cal Phillips, who's projecting at this point to be at least a valuable slot option, who can create separation and get open, and projects to be very good in intermediate spaces and goal-to-goal, moving the chain situations. And then you have Traylon Burks, who is projecting at this point to be very good in terms of stretching the field and just being a red zone option and having sure hands in those situations. Now, I've been seeing a lot of people talking down, for lack of better words, talking down on this Titans team in terms of the talent around Deandre Hopkins. Interesting stat. I'm not saying, with that disclaimer out there, I'm not saying that Traylon Burks is A.J. Brown. I'm not saying that. But the numbers don't lie. And the role that you put Traylon Burks in to play, the big play role, the home run hitter role, the 50-50 ball role, is projecting so far. He ranked 7th in the NFL in big play rate last year as a rookie, and one of the worst offenses, transparency, that I've ever seen in my life. Ever. Just being honest. 17.2. 7th in the NFL. And that outranked A.J. Brown last year, who was 15.9. Once again, not saying that he's better than A.J. Brown or even trying to say that he can hold a candle or measure him up against A.J. Brown. But what the Titans drafted him for, he has delivered. He has delivered so far. Part of being able to win those 50-50 balls is how well you can catch, and part of projecting how well and how secure your hands are is hand size. Deandre Hopkins has the largest hands among wide receivers at 10 inches. Traylon Burks is not too far behind at 9 inches and 7/8. Everything about this kid says that he's going to be a bona fide option and going to be a amazing second fiddle guy to DeAndre Hopkins this year, and potentially could become the 1A to DeAndre Hopkins 1B, or the 1B to DeAndre Hopkins 1A. So very excited about them and the prospects that they have together, and the prospect that we have in Traylon Burks. I think he's going to be awesome this year. Traylon Burks is not the only player that could potentially break out with this new addition of DeAndre Hopkins. A lot of people don't know about Chigga Concord because, quite honestly, I talked about our horrible, and I don't care who hears me say it, our horrible offensive coordinator last year in Todd Downing, who just didn't play the kid enough, like at all. We might have found something with Chigga Concord. 32 catches, 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, 14.1 yards per catch, 9.8 yards per target. Passer rating when targeted was 122.6, which I'm pretty sure is top 5 in the NFL. And he only played 38% of the offensive snaps last year. I am 100% expecting that to continue to trend upward, and I am 100% expecting Chig to not leave the field this year. So I'm sure that the production as a tight end who can kind of double as a receiver with an amazing 40 time and his speed and his agility, I would not be surprised to see him line up out wide sometimes and really take advantage of being an athletic force, Swiss Army knife, kind of similar to Evan Ingram and how he's used in Jacksonville. It's really, really, really hyped to see how that works out. And then we get to the big thing that I think people are forgetting. Did everybody just forget that the Titans have Derrick Henry? Did we forget that? Did we forget what Derrick Henry looks like when he's going against a stacked box? And then we forget what he looks like when you can't stack the box? It's unfair. Look at this. Derrick Henry has more rush yards against a stacked box, which is A+ defenders in the box for those of you who need clarification, who don't really know the football terminology. Most rush yards versus stacked boxes by running backs. Tennessee Titans, 388. King Henry by himself, 362. So that means what the other Titans running backs ran for what? 20 something yards, 20 plus something. He has more rush yards versus stacked boxes than every single NFL team. That's per next gen stats. I've heard a lot of conversation about Derrick Henry falling off, declining, whatever the case may be, but how one of the worst offensive lines and one of the worst callers, in my opinion, in NFL history, he had 349 carries, 33 receptions, which I'm pretty sure is a career high. If Derrick Henry starts catching the ball, it's fucking over. For a total of 1,936 total yards, 4.4 yards per carry, 13 TDs. He almost had 2,000 yards from scrimmage. He almost had 2,000 yards for scrimmage in a down year on one of the most injured teams in NFL history. It's scary hours, man. It's scary hours, man. Like, I'm not going to make a bold prediction and say that he's going to go off, but I am going to make a bold prediction and say that this Titans team is going to be so much better than they were in any year. With this, what we have here, the only question mark that we have, in my opinion, is the offensive line. And as long as they're going to be better than last year, I can fucking care less. And I believe wholeheartedly they're going to be better than last year, because last year was the worst fucking performance by an offensive line and by a left tackle, just solely if I put it on Dennis Daly. Him alone was fucking trash. That's just me keeping it 100. So now that we're a little bit more familiar with what we're working with, we have Ryan Tannehill, who, once again, like I said, he's a top 10 or 15 quarterback when his roster is healthy and he is protected. Derrick Henry, who is a fucking Hall of Famer, dude. He's just a Hall of Famer. He's a fucking one-man army. Deandre Hopkins, who still has everything that he needs to be a number one option in this league and perform like it last year. You still have to respect it. He still gave Jalen Ramsey the business last year. He still gave a lot of dudes the business last year. Same dudes that y'all hype about going to other teams. that's supposed to put these teams over the top. Deandre Hopkins gave him that work last year. Will LaShawn say? Crazy work. Gave him crazy work. And he missed the first 6 games. And his quarterback was out for a year. He was catching passes from Colt McCoy. And I think Nick Sorlin or some shit like that. Crazy work. Still gave y'all crazy work. Treylon Burks was basically the number 1 receiver as a rookie last year. Battling turf toe. One of the worst offensive coordinators. One of the worst offensive lines. Catching passes from Malik Willis and Joshua Dobbs. And there were a lot of times last year where Treylon Burks made some former Pro Bowlers, former All-Pro players look like babies. Look like babies. He's going to be a fucking problem. He's going to be a man-child. Mark my words. He's going to be a man-child. Nick Westbrook kind of put in a role last year where a couple times he basically had to be the number 1 option. And he still performed in some of those games. He is not a number 1 option. He is not a number 2 option. But Nick Westbrook-Akina as a number 4 or 5 option, which he will be in this offense behind Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Chigga Kunku, is a damn good receiver. A damn good receiver. Chris Moore, who played for the Texans last year, had a pretty good year as a 4th or 5th or 6th option. Damn good receiver. Kyle Phillips, who has all of the Hunter Renfrow, Cooper Kupp qualities in the world, sky's the limit for him. Derrick Henry, you want to take some of the tread off his tires and make his career last a little longer? Go out and get a Tajay Spears. Make this thing a lot bit easier for him. I'm telling you, you want to run the ball? Go get a Kevin Rader at tight end who can double as a tight end or a fullback and block the hell out of anybody in front of him. You want to get more dynamic at the positions? Go and get a Josh Wiley. 6'7" tight end who can move like a deer, like a gazelle. Improving blocker, but a damn good, amazing, from day one, a mismatch. A red zone mismatch. A mismatch on any linebacker. I want to get those guys. You scared something may happen to Tannehill? Keep your second-year quarterback that you drafted in the 3rd last year and threw in the fire. Let him develop with Malik Willis. And go and get somebody in the 2nd round who has all of the tools to be an NFL-grade quarterback. To push both of those guys in front of him and Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis. Damn good offense rant. Damn good offseason rant. The offensive line you're talking about, go get some proven vets. Go get some proven vets. Like Bronskill. Move Aaron Burr over to the center where he rightfully belongs and where he destroyed some teams last year. Let him go back to his regular position. Draft a blue chip lineman like Peter Skoronski. Bring MPF back, who's going to be suspended the first 6 games, but he'll be back. He'll be back. Go get Andre Dillard, who came from one of the best offensive lines in football and served as a pretty good depth piece with a lot of experience, who just so happened to just be behind one of the best lines of football. Give him a chance to come in and be much better. than Dennis Daly was, which I'm 100% sure that's going to happen. Get a kid with all the tools like Jalen Duncan, throw him out there on the line. Continue to shore up your line. I'm not even going to talk about the defense. We'll talk about that another time, man. But this is a much better offense than we anticipated, man. And I'm so fucking excited. So fucking excited. A lot of people said we're going to miss the playoffs, man. I did this schedule back in May, I believe. Went through the schedule, tried to see how many games we could win. With Deandre Hopkins, I'm sticking to my prediction of us going 10-7. That's my prediction. My philosophy behind that, I think if you sweep at least one of your AFC South counterparts and don't get swept, you come away with what? All you need is 10 wins. You do that, you come away with 1, 2, 3, 4. Come away with 4 of those wins in your conference. Come away with 4 of those wins in your conference. And now you just got to win the games that you're supposed to win. You have to try to sweep the NFC South in Carolina, Atlanta, the Saints, Tampa. You got to sweep that division. You sweep that division, that puts you at 8 wins. And now out of your last 7 games, all you gotta do is win 2. Which can be done, man. With this roster, it can be done. But y'all tell me what y'all think, man, about our schedule. If you think my prediction of 10-7 can be achieved now with the addition of Deandre Hopkins, there's probably more additions that are going to happen, man. People still have to go to training camp. People are going to be cutting good players. A lot of good things that can happen. And keep in mind, if we don't accomplish our goals this year, we go into next year with at least $80 million in cap space. With at least $80 million. I still think Jacksonville is going to be really good. I still think it's going to be a battle to try to win this division. I think both Jacksonville and Tennessee end up making the playoffs. Just my prediction. But I'm not drinking the Jacksonville Kool-Aid. I'm not. The Titans were 7-3 and trending upward before the Ryan Tannehill injury, and damn near more than half of their starters, anticipated starters coming into the year, just became unavailable. And you go on an 0-7 losing streak. Your offensive coordinator, after the best performance of the year, goes and gets a DUI. Then he throws the kid out there, and he's playing it safe, not playing to the kid's strengths. And you go 0-7. And you're a questionable scoop and score away from being in the playoffs again. Against that same Jacksonville team that everybody is expecting to explode onto the scene. Trevor Lawrence is he's going to be a great generational quarterback. I believe that. But he also threw 4 interceptions in one half in a playoff game against a Charger organization who, when it comes to losing games in a heartbreaking fashion, they have to lead. They have to lead. Great performance to turn around the second half and get your team to win, but Then he goes up against Kansas City the next week and back down to earth. And that was Trevor Lawrence all year. So I am not 100% sold on Trevor Lawrence being the best quarterback in this division and ruling over this division in a way that Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning did, and Deshaun Watson did in his prime before his whole debacle. I'm not 100% sold on it, not yet. There's still some growing pains that need to be had. They were fairly healthy last year. Something has to give for the Titans. That's just how I feel this year. Something has to give. 20 plus players on injury reserve the last 2 years. 80 to 90 different players suiting up for you. Something has to give. We have to be healthy this year. And I 100% expect it. And if that does happen, we're going to go 10-7. At least. You can book it. But hey man, this has been Mismatch Era. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And keep up with all the rest of our content. Hit that bell for the notifications so you can tune in whenever we go live or whenever one of our videos drop. Once again, this is Mismatch Era. It's Coach Vaughn here.